Here, in the middle of the Egyptian desert, something strange is happening. These giant green circles have been popping up all over the place. And it looks like a massive river is forming, cutting right through the desert, with dozens of smaller canals running alongside it and more still under construction. There are even tracks in the sand that look like underground pipes. Is Egypt trying to flood the desert? New roads are appearing, along with huge buildings. And then we see this. Military installations. Not just one, but several. So we decide to check it out ourselves, fly in and have someone show us everything, on site. But no one is willing to talk. Some people seem afraid for their own safety. What's going on here? The green circles led us to massive construction projects, carved out of the sand at record speed, to wild plans to flood the desert, to a repressive regime and a country struggling through years of economic crisis, and to a multi-billion-dollar project meant to feed the population, while secretly pursuing entirely different goals.
If you look at satellite pictures of the country, you can see this change.
What we do know is that it's a military project.
It's quite fascinating to see the colour of a country change.
Their census itself shows you that it's not working.
It's off budget, it's a black box.
Our research starts on Google Maps. We find the green circles all over Egypt, including here in the middle of the desert. They don't look that big at first, but when you zoom in, you realize these circles must be hundreds of meters wide. A little to the left, you can already see the outlines of the next circles etched into the sand. We head to the NASA website and pull up some before and after satellite images. Most of these circles seem to have appeared within the last 10 years. The description below the images mentions the name for this area, the New Delta. The New Delta is a massive agricultural project run by the Egyptian government. It's meant to achieve several official goals: boost farming, reduce Egypt's dependency on food imports, create jobs, and improve the country's overall food supply. To do that, the project wants to transform almost 10,000 square kilometers of barren wasteland into fertile farmland. Traditionally, farming in Egypt has mostly happened here, along the narrow strip of the Nile and up here in the Nile Delta, right on the Mediterranean coast. Since nearly the entire country is desert, only around 4% of its land can actually be used for agriculture. That's a tiny percentage compared to the other countries. Egypt is home to 116 million people, more than any other country in the Arab world. By 2050, it's expected to reach 175 million. The vast majority lives on this tiny sliver of land. It's one of the most densely populated regions on the planet. Here, people, farms, and factories are all competing for the scarce land near the water. Housing demand keeps rising, forcing farmland to be converted into residential areas. The New Delta could change that in one stroke. According to a state-run newspaper, Egypt could expand its arable land by nearly a quarter. And the country could certainly use it. Food security in Egypt has been tight for years. 8.5% of the population are undernourished, according to the Global Hunger Index. 1 in 5 children suffer from stunted growth due to malnutrition. Many staple foods, especially wheat, have to be imported. In 2021, about 80% of Egypt's wheat imports came from just 2 countries, Russia and Ukraine. At the time, that heavy dependence was already a problem for the Egyptian government. A year later, Russia invaded. Wheat shipments grinded to a halt, and the country's already fragile food situation spiraled even further. Egypt hopes to fix this by massively boosting its own agriculture, especially in the New Delta. We want to know how the project is doing, but our online research quickly hits a dead end. So we decide to fly there ourselves and see the sudden greeting of the desert. We start making plans. But soon we realize it's not going to be that simple. The moment people hear we want to shoot, they start backing out one by one. They say it's too risky. One expert admits he's worried about his personal safety. We try everything, but no one will talk to us. We end up reaching out to a good friend in Egypt to see if he can help.
Indeed, it's a bit tricky to discuss critically in Egypt, especially if it's something government-funded, of course.
That could explain why nobody wants to speak on the record. The New Delta project isn't run by some random company or even a government department. It's being pushed by the military. In early 2011, hundreds of thousands of people take to the streets in Cairo, demanding the end of the regime. They're protesting corruption, violence, and the country's ongoing economic crisis. For 18 days, protesters and police face off. In the end, autocratic President Hosni Mubarak resigns after nearly 30 years in power. Millions of Egyptians celebrate the fall of the dictatorship. Hope is in the air. The country holds its first democratic elections in 2012. The majority votes for Mohamed Morsi, an opponent of the old regime and candidate for the Muslim Brotherhood. But things barely improve under his leadership. Just 1 year later, mass protests erupt again until Morsi is overthrown by the military. What follows is a massacre. According to Human Rights Watch, soldiers kill over 1,000 demonstrators during the brutal crackdown on pro-Morsi protest camps. The man behind the coup is General Abdel Fattah el-Sisi. He officially runs for office in 2014, facing off against a token opponent. He ends up winning by a landslide, securing around 97% of the votes. Independent observers suspect the election might have been rigged. The new president promises stability, security, and economic growth. But that quiet hope is quickly shattered. El-Sisi drastically reshapes the country, steering it back into dictatorship. Human rights take a steep dive. Peaceful protests are treated as terrorism. The press is silenced. Government critics and journalists are persecuted, arrested, and even tortured. Thousands are still behind bars today, and many have simply vanished without a trace. Speaking out against the regime means putting your life on the line. The same regime also has its hands on the New Delta, just like on virtually every public construction project. If we want to talk to experts about the project, we have to look outside the country. And that's exactly what we do.
When it comes to projects like this, there's really no transparency.
That's Edmund Bauer. We met him in Dubai. He works as a journalist for AGB Insight. He frequently writes for The Guardian, where he published this article on El-Sisi's desert project.
That there's very little concrete information coming out of any of the Egyptian sources about these projects, other than that they're great projects and that they're covering a lot of land, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
That's David Sims. He's an urban planner, economist, and the author of this book, which also dives into Egypt's desert projects. They say that the New Delta isn't the first mega project of its kind.
You could say it probably has to do with a certain imagery of pioneer spirit. We can conquer the desert. This has been around for a